Steve Carr, Stevecarr, President and Chairman of the Board of Community Bank of Wichita.
Okay.
Try that again.
No, it's good. It's just
Okay.
for
Okay.
selling purposes. So.
Okay.
So just kind of a little bit,
Okay.
just tell me, history of banking
Okay.
and just
Okay.
go from there.
Well, obviously, early on in the development of the United States, we had to have currency for exchange of goods and services. Originally, each individual state issued its own currency, and that didn't work too well. So, especially when there was interstate commerce, developed then a national currency as we see it today, with the U.S. Treasury, and have a common currency that's accepted by any and all the 50 states, as well as many foreign countries in exchange. So it's played a viable and very important role in the development of the United States of America and our economy as the largest and the best in the world. We wouldn't be where we are today without the support of the banking system. There essentially are two types of banks, either a national charter bank or a state charter bank. We happen to be a state chartered bank. There really isn't too much difference between the two of them in terms of their function and their viability. State chartered banks tend to be a little cheaper in terms of fees. Lending capacities are pretty much matched. They've tried to keep everything on a level playing field when it comes to banking institutions. And when I'm talking about banks, I'm not including credit unions, although they do the same thing as we do. They are a nonprofit organization that is owned by its membership, where we are owned by individual stockholders. A little bit of difference there. They don't pay any taxes, we do. So they have a distinct advantage in some situations. We're considered a small bank. Community Bank of Wichita is $67 million in total assets. Compared to some of the larger institutions, you get into the Nationals, the Bank of Americas, the Chases, those larger institutions are well above $10 billion or more, and anything less than $1 billion is considered a small bank, interestingly enough, which is extremely large by our standards in Kansas. We started this bank in 1999. My background, I went to Wichita State, got my bachelor's degree with a major in accounting. And while I was going to school at Wichita State, I took a part-time job for a small bank here in Wichita as the errand boy and mail clerk, and moved up through the ranks. I've worked at 3 or 4 banks in various capacities over the years. I've held a teller's position, auditor, CFO, and started a leasing department for a bank here in town that did equipment leasing. And about 13 years ago, decided that I wanted to try to charter a bank myself, and along with some investors, and take advantage of what I felt like was a lack of service for small businesses and the small customers. The larger the banks get, the larger they want to see their size of customer, and it's an efficiency question, okay? But we feel like it's a niche that we are serving very well, and we feel like that there's a demand for it, and I think we've been very happy with that. Our stockholders have been very happy with that. And in the 13 years that the bank has been in existence, we've grown from 0 to $67 million. Again, very pleased with that effort. For all intents and purposes, we're a single bank holding company. We have one other location, one in Hayesville, the town of Hayesville, and then one in Wichita. We have plans to build a west side branch so that we can service customers both east and west, but that's on the drawing board and probably is a couple years away. The bank itself, again, focuses on small to medium-sized businesses. We can loan up to $2.5 million to any one customer, which in most cases is adequate for the types of businesses that are in Wichita and Sedgwick County and the surrounding metro counties. We have a staff of about 23 people. Most of them have been with us 10 years or more, so we've been very fortunate. We've surrounded ourselves with some talented people. Most of them are younger than I am, fortunately, and they all bring some good expertise with them in their particular fields. Okay, other questions?
Can you talk about when you first started at the bank, what it looked
Okay.
like?
Yeah, okay. When we first got started, of course, we wanted to keep our overhead down low, and we purchased a double-wide modular banking unit, which consisted of 3 offices, an area for the tellers, and the restrooms, and a little break area. That served our purposes for about 5 years, kept our overhead down. We didn't have an expensive building that we had to pay for. At the end of 5 years, we then took on the project of building the facility that we're in today, which is about 17,000 square feet. It's on 2 floors and houses our corporate offices here. That allowed us to really turn a profit within 9 months when we started the bank, and really was an unusual situation. Again, with my background in Wichita, which totals some 40 years, I had a number of clients and customers that followed us out here to the new location at 21st and Greenwich. So that kind of gave us a running start. It wasn't like I was coming into Wichita totally unknown, and gave us a springboard to get the bank up and going and be able to turn a profit in the first 9 months. It took me 1.5 years from the time that I resigned from my previous banking position with the bank. I had to make application both to the state of Kansas for a charter. I had to make application to the FDIC for insurance. Met with those people, and it was a detailed process. I used Grant Thornton as our accounting firm to help me complete that application. Of course, we had bylaws and operating agreements and all these various things, bank policies that all have to be put in place before you open the door day one. You have to have your computer data processing either in-house or outsourced. In our particular case, we chose to do it in-house, and I hired a young man to help me do that. He was a previous peer at another bank, and he was instrumental in helping us get started from the operational side. Also engaged the services of a gentleman that I had worked for that had been a president of another bank here in town, but he had since left that bank and had moved out of the area, but wanted to get back. So he was instrumental in helping giving me and mentoring me, you know, in my efforts to get the bank started and give the bank some credibility with the regulators from a long-term standpoint. Found the regulators to be extremely helpful in getting the charter going. We put about $2.5 million into the bank. The bank is actually owned by a holding company called Community State Bank Shares. So the bank itself is a subsidiary of another corporation. There's some reasons to do that. It allows you to borrow money if you need to at the holding company level, push it down to the bank and in the way of equity, and then as the bank makes money, dividend that income up to retire the debt. So that's the way a lot of banks have done it. Works for us. We have on occasion done that, but it is pretty typical. So it also allows us to then go and talk to other banks that maybe will want to merge or be sold, and we can exchange the holding company stock for their bank stock, and we can operate that bank either as a wholly subsidiary, such as what you have with Community Bank of Wichita, or we can merge it into Wichita, which is normally the case. We were considered a de novo bank for the first 5 to 6 years. There are certain regulations, restrictions